meeting to order and ask the roll be called, please.
Blue. Disharum.
Here.
Henry. Here. Holzhauser. Here. Humboldt. Here. Wagenbach.
Here.
Wisdom.
Here.
I'd like everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our first order of business is a public hearing for the FY20 budget. Could I have a motion to open the public hearing, please?
I move to open the public hearing for the FY20 budget.
Thank you, Mrs. Disharoon. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Wisdom. Well, we're going to have it first. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Disharum.
Aye.
Wisdom.
Aye.
Henry. Aye. Holzhauser. Aye. Humboldt.
Aye.
Wagenbach.
Aye.
Is there anyone who would like to address the board regarding the budget? Could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I move to close the public hearing.
Thank you, Mrs. Disharum. Have a
I'll
second? Mr. Wagenbach. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Disharum.
Aye.
Wagenbach.
Aye.
Henry. Aye. Holzhauser. Aye. Humboldt.
Motion carried.
Wisdom.
Aye.
Sorry, motion carried times 602. The board will now move on to the public participation portion of the meeting. Dr. Dimmer will begin the superintendent's report.
Pardon me. I've had two FOIA requests. One from Tim Shelley from WCBU Radio requesting employment verification information regarding a former Dunlap employee. The district has responded to this request. And then a second request by a private individual requesting the district compile a specific list of special education teacher credentials. The request was denied because neither FOIA nor IDA requires the school to compile documents. The district is only required to provide documents that are responsive to a request, which the district does not have. Third item, Hickory Grove Crossing. Met there Tuesday morning, and Karen came out, Mike came out, Jeremy was there. We had Dennis Sear there and city engineers, as well as Officer Butterfield and Bridge, and we kind of looked at that at 7:30 in the morning, which is high time for a crossing at Hickory Grove, and it was good to put eyes on that and actually see it when it's happening, and some of the issues that are involved with the size of that school has grown to 800 students, and of course the corresponding traffic that goes with that and the roundabout. So we are working with the city to try and come up with a solution that satisfies both the needs of the city and the district and the safety of our students as well. Esports update. Esports is developing a club just like any other club we have at the high school. We have dozens of clubs. They're working with Mr. Adrian and his staff to get the student signatures that are needed and the faculty sponsor, which I believe is going to be Mr. Piper. So we will be having an esports club. I think that's good for the students and also good for the district. And then we'll wait and see what IHSA does, if they go ahead and sanction this as a sport. And then we'll have some background data as far as student involvement, as far as whether or not we want to move forward with it in a greater capacity at that time. But esports is moving forward as a club at the high school level. Fifth item, it's not all bad news. I got some good news. The maintenance grant is coming back, is what we're hearing. That's a $50,000 matching grant. Should come back in January, is what I've been told. So some of our projects that we normally do will qualify this. The standards are pretty loose for that. So there's some funds that potentially could be coming our way. And also with the Connect Illinois, which is part of Governor Pritzker's plan, this is supposed to be a banner year for E-rate. So I've been in communication daily with Ben King and his staff, and as far as putting together a proposal to maximize the dollars that were available to us through E-rate. The other information that came out of our CIV meeting is There are currently 80 legislators signed up to be on the Property Tax Relief Committee. They're lining up to get their name on this. It's a huge push right now, as we all well know. Part of Governor Pritzker's graduate income tax, all that's tied together. The potential that something is going to happen is probably more imminent now than ever, because it's not just a county issue anymore, it's a state level issue. And if this were to happen, and it would be PTEL throughout the state, then that will trigger some of the same conversations that we've all had 3 to 4 years ago about debt service extension base and those types of conversations. So that's the information coming out of our CIB political region. And that's all I have at this time.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we will move on to the public comments portion. Is there anyone who wishes to address the board? If so, please raise your hand. Okay, before addressing the board, I would like to remind you of our process. Per Board Policy 2.230, we asked that when addressing the board, please identify yourself and be brief. Comments shall be limited to 5 minutes. The speaker is asked to please conduct oneself with respect and civility towards others. Individuals less than 18 years of age are permitted to address the board if accompanied by his parent or guardian. The board typically does not engage in two-way conversations during the public participation portion of the meeting. Any follow-up response that is needed will be addressed by the administration at a later date. To be respectful of others and protect confidentiality, complaints against individual students, staff members, or board members, either named or unnamed, shall not be orally presented to the Board of Education. Such complaints should be put in writing, signed by the person or persons making the charges, and delivered to the Board of Education Secretary. At this time, I would like to ask anyone who wishes to address the board to come forward and sign the public participation sheet. Then each speaker may come to the podium and begin by speaking into the microphone, stating their name and the topic that they will be addressing. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Clara Hooks, and the topic I'm discussing is the 2019 IESA golf tournament. It was held Saturday, September 14th at Kellogg Golf Course. There were 151 middle school participants from all areas of Illinois. 75 girls participated in this tournament, and no boys, and 2 of the girls were from Dunlap Valley Middle School. Mackenzie Howard, she placed number 17, and she shot a 92. Khalees Morris, she placed 28, and she shot a 101. Now, the reason why I'm here, okay, they had to qualify on Wednesday, September 4th at Madison Golf Course. All the other schools represented at this course, at this conference, they had school shirts. And this is the second year that I've been involved in the tournament, and Dunlap doesn't, I don't know if they don't provide them or the girls don't have. They're representing Dunlap School, but there's no shirts provided like the other participants in the other schools across the state. So that was my concern. You know, if they're representing Dunlap, okay, we can afford a couple shirts. So that was my concern. And this is the second year that I've noticed that there's no team shirts. So.
Thank you, Mrs. Hooks. I'm sure someone will get back to you from the golf team or perhaps the administrator. Thank you very much. Anyone else like to address the board?
Sitting behind the desk where you all are. I'm going to take this out of there. I think it'll be easier for everyone to hear. So we are here tonight to address the concerns over the PE exemptions for 11th and 12th grade that are outlined by Illinois state law and district policy. By the way, Megan and I will be yielding our time to each other so we can stay within that 10 minutes.
Could you speak up just a little bit?
Okay,
Thank
go
you.
ahead, thanks. School code states, a school board may excuse pupils in 11th and 12th grade from engaging in physical education courses if those pupils request to be excused for any of the following reasons listed in this subsection. Enrollment in a course required for admittance into post-secondary education or enrollment in a course required for high school graduation. I overheard a Richwood student speaking one night of how he only has to take 2 years of PE, so I had to ask some questions. The next day, I called the counseling office at Richwoods to confirm the information. And indeed, it was true. And not only are they exempt, their students don't have to go through a complicated exemption process. It's their standard procedure. And they're not the only ones, by the way. There are some Chicago schools and some Chicago suburbs who also use the same exemptions. So juniors and seniors are automatically exempt to take courses required for admission to post-secondary education or required for high school graduation, math, English, civics, resource management, whatever it is. It's that simple. Richwood says it's what's best for the students. Over 2 years, this exemption allows the ability for juniors and seniors to focus on their post-secondary education. This includes skilled trades, CNA program, co-op, Strong Start, and other dual credit courses at ICC. I'm sure I'm missing others. Students can take additional courses geared towards their skill, major. Those headed to college can better tailor their resume towards their field of study. And those taking a rigorous course load can be granted a study hall. Overall, juniors and seniors will significantly benefit from this extra time for a study hall, to commute, or to drive to work. Not to mention time to focus on college applications and writing college essays. It's whatever works for these students to best meet their needs. You may be wondering why this young lady is standing up here with me. So I posted this information on Facebook. Her mother read it and gave it to Megan. And she immediately wanted to address the board. Megan represents just one of these student groups, one with a rigorous course load who is incredibly busy. So I'm going to let Megan introduce herself, maybe give her address because I forgot to do that, and we'll continue.
Hi, everyone. My name is Megan Walters. I'm a senior here at Dunlap High School, and I'm also here to talk to you about the benefits of PE exemption. So first, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my schedule. I'm enrolled in 2 AP courses. I also am applying to colleges, so that requires writing essays, filling out applications, getting letters of rec from teachers and my counselor. I'm an officer in Best Buddies, which requires work outside of school. I work 20 hours a week at a restaurant to save money for college. I've been studying for the ACT. I just took it for the 4th and final time, but that took a lot of time outside of school as well. And I also have an internship for my application that I do 8 to 10 hours a week as well. As you can imagine, I don't have a lot of extra free time outside of school, but I like it that way, and I like to work hard, and I like that Dunlap challenges me. Dunlap prides itself on being a college prep school, and it flaunts its averages, yet I feel like it offers very little support to those who work so hard to attain these averages. A PE exemption would offer this support. It's so frustrating to me when I see kids who just do the bare minimum, getting double early release and leaving at 12:30, when me and my friends stay until 2:40 or 3:30. This PE exemption, I'm afraid that people are going to think that students want a PE exemption because they're lazy, and in fact, it's the exact opposite. It gives us an extra hour to study, apply to colleges, prep for tests, and sleep. One of my friends is enrolled in 5 AP courses, and she told me she averages 3 to 4 hours of sleep every night. I hope that you hear our concerns and address this issue as soon as possible. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, I'm Beth Ree. I live at 11428 North Stone Creek Drive. Got it on here. So we have many other students similar to Megan in this district, taking anywhere from 2 to 5 AP courses, still trying to be involved in extracurriculars, clubs, trying to stay well-rounded, and averaging 3 to 4 hours of sleep a night, even some of the sophomores. They're suffering horrible anxiety, panic attacks, and when discussing their situations with one another, sometimes they're even reduced to tears in school. from the pressure and the stress. Some students would love to be here tonight, but they simply do not have the time. There is not another minute in their day. But they're hoping that you're listening. It's easy for us adults to lose perspective of what these students are going through. We don't often see or realize what it's costing at the other end. These students notice, okay, before I say this, I want, we know they're stressed, but we don't. And it's not purposely that we're not there supporting them. It's just that there's so much going on, and we don't hear from them because they're quiet kids and they're busy and they're just trying to get through their day. So we don't want to you to think that we're blaming you for lacking in support, because we understand there are many other things that you have to deal with in your day. Now, if I can find my place. So sometimes these students, they see, administration on a full-on sprint to the bathroom to catch students who are juuling. But who's running to their corner? Who's there to support them? They just want a nap. They want an extra study hall. They want more sleep. Some want to take an extra elective. Or time to get to their ICC class. Time to work and earn some money for the hefty college tuition. And Megan mentioned one of the students, but I just want to see if just give her another opportunity. If you have any other friends that have similar experiences that you can share, because it's one thing for me to stand up and tell you, but it's really something more impactful, I think, when you hear it from a student who has friends who are going through situations. Is there anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think lack of sleep is a huge thing. I get 5 to 7 a night, and that's not enough. My friends that get 3 or 4. Like I mentioned. Also, I think you mentioned anxiety and panic attacks. I have lots of friends who struggle with anxiety, school-related anxiety, work-related anxiety when applying to colleges. And I think that there's a lot of pressure that comes from Dunlap because our academics are so high and they're so competitive. But there's also a lot of anxiety that comes with that. And so I think this extra hour would aid in getting rid of a lot of that anxiety.
And you do a good job with all the courses that we have. We don't want to lose sight of that either. So in summary, many of our students continue to take PE, and they will continue to take PE, okay, especially those students who are in sports. These exemptions will more than likely simply drop PE class numbers down to a more manageable size to that of the pre-deficit cuts years ago. And that should be a plus. But some of the juniors or seniors are taking really rigorous course loads and struggling. And this would give these students time to focus on their academics. All districts are unique with differing needs, and that is exactly why, by law, these exemptions are provided in the first place. It gives districts local control and allows them to listen to their constituents to better provide the support their students need. Don't want anyone to get offended by this next comment either, but we always tout our rankings. We tout our scores. We tout the high school, the college admittance exams. But we tout those, but where are we supporting these students? And what can we do? And how can we help them continue their growth and continue to make us look good? They need to be just as supported as marching band in sports. And right now, sometimes they just don't feel supported. They're overwhelmed, they're anxious, and they're tired. So this is a plea. This is a plea for their mental health, their well-being, and their livelihood. We are asking that you allow these exemptions, I want to say immediately, but as quickly as you can, so that these students can benefit in ways that meet their needs. And if you aren't going to grant these, I think the stakeholders deserve to see in writing, perhaps, maybe on the website, why these exemptions are not provided. And I would hope that it's not job protection, because I don't see that as an issue at the expense of these students' mental health and well-being, or the work that it'll change to arrange this. I understand it'll take some work, but some of these kids are putting in that work each and every single day.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who wants to address the board?
May I address the board, please?
Sure, come on in. Sign the page.
Yes. I'll be waiting under 5 minutes, I promise you. Hi, my name's Dustin Hess. I'm a teacher here, department head and also a parent. Live at 4102 West Hearthwood Drive. I mean, how about Megan? That's very impressive. And the thing is, we have a lot of Megans, and there's no doubt in my mind, you know, how hard she works. I don't doubt that at all. One thing that I keep hearing is stress, anxiety, a heavy workload. We have all this. And I think we're all educated enough to realize that exercise is the main thing needed there. 50 minutes a day to get away from that workload, you can't overestimate the impact that will have. So, and I get that maybe we think that, oh, that's going to be more study time and they're going to use that for that, but I've seen enough high school students to know that that doesn't always happen. Also, we'd also like to think that it would just be these few if we open the door, and I think we know it'll be maybe more than that. And if we left it to high school students whether to go and get exercise or not, I think we know where that would go as well. So, no doubt we have a lot of hard workers and we all need more time. I need more time, you know, instead of being here tonight. But exercise is extremely important for the rest of your life, and that's what we're trying to teach here at Dunlap High School and the elementary schools and the middle schools. And our students need it more than any school around. Thank you.
Thank you. There's no one else that wishes to address the board. This concludes the public participation portion of the meeting. The board will now move on to the information and discussion items. The school activity accounts reports are included in the packet. Are there any questions? The monthly drug testing report for Dunlap High School is in the board packet. Are there any questions? Information regarding the 2021 out-of-state trip for the Dunlap High School choir is included in the packet. Mrs. Reese has asked that the destination and itinerary for the trip be kept confidential until it is approved by the board October 16th at the October 16th meeting. Once it's officially approved, she will announce the destination and itinerary to the students, parents, and staff. If any board members have specific questions, please contact Ms. Reese prior to the October meeting. Are there any general questions that will not divulge the location of the trip? Mrs. Disher.
I was just wondering, the fees for this are paid by the students and their families, or is it a request for the district to cover some of the costs?
I believe it's a mixture of both.
Oh, okay.
Do you have cost amounts? Because it wasn't very clear in the board packet. It was, well, I saw $1,000, but I didn't know what that meant. Does the student pay that? Does the district pay that?
I know when my kids did it, the parents, the student or the parent paid it. We did fundraisers and we paid for the entire trip.
Okay, is there any way you can get back to the board on that?
Sure.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And if it is part district, I'd also like to know, do we do that for other clubs and organizations?
I'm sorry, do what?
Does the district cover part of the cost for other clubs and organizations?
It depends on
Okay.
the club organization. Sometimes it's a mixture, like Teresa said, they'll do a fundraiser to offset those costs, and then divvy up the difference. And then sometimes students have their own accounts where they fundraise and fund the whole trip to that.
Mm-hmm.
And then if not, they fundraise half to offset their costs. So it's just very
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Information regarding the 5 essential surveys included in the board packet. Mr. Andrews will present more detailed information regarding the survey in October at our October meeting. Are there any questions? The administrator and teachers' compensation reports for the 2019 school year are included in the board packet. Are there any questions? Information regarding the district's insurance renewal is included in the packet. More detailed information will be available at the October meeting prior to the board's approval. Are there any questions? Information regarding the 5-year facility plan is included in the packet. Are there any questions?
I had some questions.
Okay, Mrs. Disher?
Just wondered what the cost of replacing the football turf and the track will be, and is there a way to get that? I know it's in the athletic plan, but is there a way to kind of merge those to know?
We actually had to, I'm sorry.
The rough estimate right now for both is $600,000 is what we've heard. That's track and turf replacement.
together or each, so 12?
Total.
Total.
But that wasn't even put on this, was it?
Well, no, because we haven't made that decision yet. So these are hard facility plans for currently with the facilities that we have. So I think when we have our board retreat in October, and we look at some long-term planning, we can take the ALT and what they proposed, and then Tom's 5-year facility, blend those together, and maybe put a comprehensive plan together that blends those. And these are separate items.
Which would give us a little bit more realistic idea of the 5-year cost. Okay.
And are there any other big ones that aren't on here that, might?
Well, sure, we might be adding, we'd like to have more parking, we'd like to have a district office. There's a lot of different things that potentially could be there. But again, they're potential, so it's hard to estimate potential costs, and we don't even really know what we're going to do yet.
Also, I had a question about the tennis courts and the cleaning. I was just wondering if that cleaning has to be done for warranty work, because the last time it was done, it was just difficult to see the benefit.
This past summer. I believe it's part of the, Tom would have to for sure, that's something that he sets up.
Okay.
But I think they do it on a bi-yearly basis, I think they do it every other year for some of those, like to get the pyrites and those kind of things out of there so they don't get bigger, and crack. I think I believe that's the purpose.
Karen, I believe that if we didn't follow that, Katie, was that right, to avoid the warranty?
Well, that's what I wondered.
That was something to do with
And
it.
if
We asked about that too. They didn't look like it needed it.
Exactly.
If we didn't follow through, they would avoid the long-term.
Yeah, and if that's the case, then we have to do it. But if it's not the case, then I'm not sure it's worth it.
If it has to be contracted out, that's the question. I mean, the power washing is something that you do usually in-house.
I can check.
Okay, thanks.
Information regarding the traffic study proposed for the Dunlap High School, Dunlap Middle School campus is included in the packet. The board will be asked to approve the proposal at the October meeting. Are there any questions regarding the traffic study proposal?
I just have some comments. I understand the need for it, and but I'm just wondering at this time of budget difficulty if there's a likelihood that we'll get something reasonable out of it that's not really costly. It seems to me that probably we get something, a recommendation that would be very costly, and I'm not sure it's something we'd want to do right away. And so does it make sense to do a traffic study when we know in the next 2 or 3 years we can't spend the money on it? Or would it be better to wait and do the traffic study, closer to the time of that? Now, I know parking is a huge issue at the high school, and I know that was going to be included, and I was just wondering if maybe the parking issue could maybe be addressed by an internal, committee of maybe principals or resource officers, I don't know, to address that as opposed to a full-fledged paying somebody on the outside to do a full-fledged traffic study. So I just throw that out there. I'm not, strong. I know it's a little bit of money, and so it's not a big deal, but on the other hand, I'm just questioning that, and I open it up for discussion.
Does anyone have any comments they'd like to make?
And I touched on this before, and I see Antonio here in the room, and Mr. Adrian. From my perspective, and I'm not here at the high school, my kids are not in high school anymore. But is it more of a safety concern, and it's okay if I ask what their opinion is here? Sure. Mr. Adrian, you tell me, you're here, and Antonio, you're here as well. So what are your thoughts? I consider more of a safety. It's just...
Well, our traffic, we all know it's not very good. I mean, we've got routinely people go down one ways, and that's an accepted behavior. We need more exits and entrances to the building. There's no doubt about that. Ideally, if we could get another one that directly to 91, that would alleviate a lot of this. But we get complaints on a daily basis about people picking up in the middle school, people picking up at the high school drivers backing out, one way to go, high school kids coming out one way quickly, or even a short way is a problem. So,
okay, I'm going to ask this question. How many near misses do you think you have?
how many what?
I'm going to call them near misses.
It's safety.
Well, according to our complaints every day, there's a near miss.
Yeah, I feel, that's just my opinion, that we need it for we need to take a look at it. It's very important. It's a safety issue based on there's one way in, one way out, so to speak. And, two near misses, thank goodness they're just near misses at this point. So, Antonio, I don't know if you want to comment?
You know, big thing with middle school students, we got middle school students leaving our building and heading to the high school to get on all of those buses. So the parking lot that's in between Dunlap Middle School and the tennis court football field, we often have to stand there stopping traffic, letting our students go by. You know, if there's an emergency or something and someone's not able to be there, we're at the mercy of high school drivers coming and going, not paying attention to kids walking. We've got hundreds of kids walking across that area. So from a safety standpoint, yes, that would be a concern that I've got, that making sure our students are safe walking to the bus each day.
So that's a priority for me, so I'll let more discussion happen.
Anyone else have anything, Mike?
Yeah, it might help. Dr. Dimmer, can you summarize for us what you're looking to get out of this study? What
And
you
how much
hope
it
this
is.
is going to tell you?
12,000.
12.5. They're going to do all the things that we've already discussed as far as traffic flow. They're going to set up like 8 different cameras in different locations, gather data as far as volume, and then they're going to look at what can we do to ease the flow, whether it be roundabouts, different things of that nature. They're going to look at, can we get another exit to 91? They're going to look at IDOT and those different things and how can we incorporate that. They're also looking at parking, and then, you know, it's on the agenda, district office, you know, where would be a good location for that? They're going to give us that information as well. I understand what Karen's saying. The money's tight. Whatever comes of this, if it's a major construction project as far as building a road, that's going to be expensive. I get that. But I also hear what Cheryl's saying, or excuse me, Teresa's saying about the safety aspect, and what Scott and Antonio are reiterating. Plus, you know, we're looking to build a district office, and I'd be real hesitant, or expand parking. I'd be real hesitant to do that and park a parking lot somewhere, and then later on, when we look at some type of future expansion, have them come back and say, oh yeah, you shouldn't have put that there because of this reason. Now you got to tear it up. I'd like to have somebody, you know, professional capacity look at that and give us their opinion.
And I understand that, you know, if you think that there's some safety improvements that can come out of this that we can afford right now, you know, I think it's great. And if we feel like we can't decide where to put a district office, and we need professionals to tell us that, then I guess so. I don't know. I don't know that we really need that, but.
Has it been decided that the district office is going to be on this campus?
No.
And if I can weigh in too, I mean, safety first, right? I mean, we're here for the kids, and it's $12,000, and then we're going to be looking whether we use outside expertise to determine where we're going to put the district office. If we can have a safety study on the traffic flow, it may indicate it's not here, right? I mean, ultimately, we make the decision, but to not spend that money, and we have near misses, doesn't make sense to me.
I would ask Antonio, do the high school kids drive through your front yard to get out, or why would they? Do the high school kids drive in front of your school to get out? Yeah. Why would they do that? They would need to?
Well, we have people parking on that. We have students parking.
Just the ones that are parking there, but your parking lot shouldn't go out there.
A lot of times they'll go out that way, thinking it's a quicker way to get out. But yeah, we have a significant number of students parking over there.
And they don't listen to anything you say, probably.
What's that?
They won't listen to your recommendations, probably, kids.
That's the only spots they have available. I think there's, what, 85?
So those are the ones leaving that way, yeah.
Yeah, that's close outdoor parking.
I'm just wondering if we have the people internally who can look at those type of issues, or if we need, you know, do we need this? I don't know. If you think we really need that and we can't do it internally, then.
Do we have traffic study engineers internally?
I think the issue with safety has been an issue for many, many years. I can tell you that what we could do right now is to have better signage. When you come in that lot, the arrow that points this way is almost unable to be seen. It's worn off the surface of the parking lot. So, you know, if we could paint the arrow and have a sign that says "Do not enter," it's not very clear. I've seen parents come out that way all the time. I've almost did it myself. So when you first come to this parking lot, you're not really sure, and perhaps better signage would help. I don't know if you're allowed to have a flashing sign, you know, when they need to let the middle schoolers cross. There may be some things we could do right now before we're able to get the study and the results of the study, if we have the study. I understand that the comment too, that if we do not have the ability to change the roads and the entrances, if the costs are too high, it's a study that if we have to have it again later, once the codes and the laws change, then we'll be spending the $12,000 again, but if there's no other discussion, I guess it gives us time. Ms. Henry?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think because I'm here so much, with a large family and also with carpools, that I see people going the wrong way, like every week. And sometimes it's like if they're having a tennis thing for little kids, they don't know which way to drive. So I think at the minimum, what you said, we need to have like one way, do not enter. And I can think of 3 places that needs to happen, or 4 now. So people, I think the people who come here every day know that a lot of people aren't here every day. In fact, I almost hit somebody this summer going the wrong way quickly. So I would say we need to do that now. The other thing that's safety, I don't know if it's exactly with this traffic flow, but when you come in off of the main road, what is that?
Cedar Hills?
Legion Hall or Cedar Hills?
What's the first one you said?
Legion Hall or Cedar Hills?
Legion Hall, when you come in, there's no sidewalk, and there are people walking every day. So those people come in, they have to walk around, the police officer. From a safety standpoint, I don't know that they need to be walking on grass. And so that's something I see all the time.
So how do you feel about the study, the traffic study? Do you think
I don't think you need a traffic study to do signs on a sidewalk, but I see what other people are saying, but I think some of it can be handled with signs.
Okay, does anyone else have anything to
Yeah, I do.
say?
I don't think we need to wait for a traffic study to put up some additional signs for one-way traffic, and I don't think the administration needs a board action in order to do that.
Right.
I think they have complete authority to put up some more signs if they want to right now. So it might be something to consider.
Okay. Are there any other questions, comments? Next, Dr. Dillman will share information regarding the superintendent's committee.
I'd like to propose a policy committee comprised of Ann and Cheryl to work with me in regards to policies through press when they come up, and then have discussions regarding those, and then share that information out with the rest of the group.
Thank you.
I was thinking this was for the district office.
Well, we're going to, we've discussed doing the policy committee both ways as a superintendent's committee rather than a board committee.
I see. Okay.
So there's no, so the policy committee that was reporting to the board as of last month.
Is now resolved. It was never officially made, it was a suggestion.
Okay, I got you.
Okay.
I understand, sorry.
And the only comment on that, and as I indicated to both Abby and I think Scott is, I'm more than happy to serve in that capacity. With regard to policy, in the past, I was on the policy committee, I think with Beth Reed, yes. And so we would review, and then we would come to a board meeting, and there were 100 policies that had to be, information and then action items. And there was just a general question, do you have any problems with these suggestions from press and ISB? No, and then we would discuss a few things and we'd move on. My concern, I think, moving forward is, new board, that we meet, and I think this happened towards the end of when we had an interim superintendent, we would meet and we would have administrators come in and talk to the questions that we had, and they took time out of their day, and there were teachers and building administrators, and they come in and talk, and then we're like, okay. And then it was a rehash when it came to the meeting because there's 7 board members that had questions. So I just want to make sure that it's an efficient use. I mean, I have time to do it, that, you know, for administrators and teachers that come to present, to answer the questions on policy issues, and then they have to do it again, is it an efficient use of their time? So that's my only concern, but I'm happy to serve.
Okay, thank you very much. Good point.
So does that mean they don't come to the committee of the whole, they come to the team?
It would, so it would be you and I meeting about policy issues, and if we have questions, then you would bring in the high school, Scott Adrian, you would bring in like the PE group on questions with PE exemption, if they have and you might have a DEA person that comes in, and they're taking time out of their day for the meeting, or in the evening maybe, and, you know, we sit down for 2 hours and go through a lot of policies, and so you're taking time away from either them doing their job or them from their families, and that's fine as long as we can resolve it, and then, you know, it's delegated to us to share that information. But then we come to the meeting, and then everyone has questions, and they kind of need to do it all over again. It's just a time issue, and, you know, taking time
Well,
away from their job.
I would think that the board would be encouraged then to read the policies ahead of time, and if they had specific questions that one of you could answer individually, that would be a little bit more efficient use of time, and we wouldn't have to research. So we'll try to strive for that. If it doesn't work, we can always revisit it.
Yeah, to go to.
Thank you both for serving and volunteering. Your other committee? Is there something else?
Building
District
office. I'd like to propose a district office committee as well, superintendent committee, and I believe that would be Teresa and Mike, if you would be willing to do so.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And Teresa will be chairing that committee. She's agreed.
Thank you much.
And what will they be, just bringing in proposals and looking at ideas and
Researching options, gathering data.
expenditures will be approved first or not?
Expenditures for what?
I don't know.
For the office? Oh, yeah.
For the actual officer?
Design work.
We wouldn't do anything until the board approved our recommendation.
Okay.
So there would be no money spent from that.
No money spent without us knowing it?
They'll be
Absolutely not.
researching the options and coming back to us with a recommendation of what they feel would be the best option.
Yep, okay.
And then we can move forward.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, the board will be asked at the October meeting to approve a representative for the delegate assembly at the III Conference. It's an annual conference in Chicago. The delegate is responsible for voting on behalf of the entire board on proposed resolutions. Board members attending the conference this year are Ann Henry, Mike Wisdom, and Abby Humbles. At this time, the board will need to select a delegate. Are there any questions or discussions or volunteers to be the delegate?
Honestly, I think the one with the most experience would probably be able to do the most good.
Well, traditionally, that's not how it's been. It's usually been other members. And in a previous discussion with the vice president of the board and the superintendent, we felt that because Mrs. Henry is so good at looking at policy that she would enjoy being part of the delegate committee. It's only a few hours. It's quite enjoyable. And I can share the duty with you if you feel that you don't want to.
I like digging into policies.
Second.
Okay. Any other questions? We also have a handy little guide here, and we'll probably be discussing what we feel the district's position on each one of these policies or committee resolutions will be. So we won't send you in unprepared. Thank you very much. The board will now discuss alignment of curriculum guides, school handbooks, and board policies. Are there any questions and/or discussion?
Before discussion, I did have a conversation when this was on the agenda and there was no attached information, just asking what is this about? And Abby did fill me in on a phone conversation. I strongly recommended this be moved, both of these agenda items, into a committee of the whole. The information that you guys emailed came out Monday afternoon. I was traveling, I know people have jobs, and to really digest what you guys are thinking about and also engaging with the administration instead of, all of a sudden putting them on their heels, discussing it here, and we might not all be well versed on it. I really think that this needs to be tabled and put for a committee of the whole.
You know, I'd be fine with it being a committee of the whole. I guess the timing, when we started looking at the timing of schedules, is that students start scheduling their classes, I believe it's November. So we are hoping that some of these.
I think it might be later.
Okay, could we get a timeline for that?
Timeline on scheduling?
I think it's December and
Well,
March.
we break our course recommendations to you in October, and then you approve them in November, and then we start building our schedule around that, or to give to the students. They take them home, they talk about them, they start to schedule classes that they like in December, and then in January, our 8th grade comes over, we give them the talk, the freshman parent talk, then we start to gather them in January, we start to input them in February, start to make a schedule, master schedule. We talk about staffing needs, we bring staffing needs, that's how that whole thing works.
Yeah, so I mean, just to give enough time, that's why we decided, once we heard that schedule, that it would be better to have a discussion earlier rather than later. And we can do it interim, you know, we can do it in a week or two, if other people are open to it.
But I also think we need to coordinate with I mean, there's an administrative process on all these things, and then we have to engage with, I mean, because that's not our job, you know, like to redraft a handbook or what. I mean, I think we really have to engage the people that's their job. And
well, one of the
so,
things we noticed from a specific instance was that our policy and our handbook and our curriculum guide don't always match.
There were inconsistencies.
And so they're inconsistent. And so that, you know, that's confusing for parents and students.
Oh, I absolutely agree. But I do think we have to work with the administration and not step into their shoes.
I agree with you, and I think we had this discussion when we talked about, you know, we can't just change these things in one meeting. There's a process to follow. We'll need to, you know, consult all the players that are involved, and committee of the whole is a very good idea. We can do that. We have time to do that. So I think, you know, the individual issues it's a lot to digest. There are a lot of things that potentially could change. Once it's changed, we still also need to involve the administrators so that they can communicate that to the teachers, counselors, or whoever might be impacted by this. So I agree with the committee of the whole. We can set that up with Carrie. She can send out a doodle and we can figure out when we can meet. Any other questions, comments?
My understanding was that the counselors are going to meet with the freshmen in late November, is what I heard from my counselor.
Will the counselors be meeting with the freshmen in November?
No.
When will?
Our counting team.
Oh, Kim's here to help you.
Okay.
Yeah, counselors meet with 8th graders in December. We talk to the middle school counselors to see what works for them, to just kind of do a preview before we meet with parents,
okay,
families in January. But we meet with freshmen, our current kids in this building, freshmen through juniors before Thanksgiving.
Before Thanksgiving. Okay, so those students will be impacted if there are changes before Thanksgiving.
Like 8th graders for freshmen, obviously.
That's the November people, the 8th graders at middle schools, or you meeting?
No, she's saying the other students.
I'm saying December would be 8th graders, and then we meet with all their families. But yes, our current people in this building, freshmen, sophomores, we meet with
Juniors?
Juniors, we talked about meeting a little bit later before finals in December. But
So
freshmen,
will
sophomores
students
before
be
Thanksgiving.
registering? Will you be meeting with any students that are going to be planning their schedules in November?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
At least half of this building.
That helps. Thank you so very much. Okay, so I guess time is of the essence here. So we'll get that committee of whole meeting started. We'll make sure we notify the players involved and they can have representatives there. All right, thank you very much. Revisions and updates to the middle school and high school handbooks are the next topic. Are there any discussions or questions?
I presume it would all be.
Yes, same thing. It's the same conversation. They all impact each other, so. All right, if there are no other discussion or questions, this concludes the information discussion items. The board will now move on to the consent agenda. Are there any questions or discussions regarding the items on the consent agenda? Could I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, please?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Mrs. Holz.
Second.
Mrs. Holzhauser, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Holzhauser. Aye. Blue. Aye. Henry. Aye. Humboldt.
Aye. Wagonbach.
Aye.
Wisdom.
Aye.
Disharum.
Aye. Motion carried. The board will now move on to the action items. The bill list, treasurer's report, and district investment report are included in the board packet. Are there any questions? Do I have a motion to approve the payment of the bills, please?
I do have a question first. The one Farnsworth bill in there, I would like to maybe hold off till we get more detail on it. For $38,000.
Okay, the Farnsworth bill that we have,
And I
okay.
presented that to Dr. German.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone who'd like to make a motion to pay the bills with the exception of the Farnsworth bill until we can gather more information?
I move to approve the payment of the bills. I don't know the amount though now.
We'll just say the amount of this minus.
Yeah, the amount of $4,616,715.07 as presented less the Farnsworth invoice.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Wagonbach.
Aye.
Disharum.
Aye.
Olshauser. Aye. Humbles.
Aye.
Wisdom.
Aye.
Bluth. Aye. Henry.
Aye. Motion carried. Earlier this evening, the board held a public hearing regarding the FY20 budget. At this time, I would like to ask for a motion to approve the adoption of the budget.
I'd like to make a comment. Should I do that later, after the motion?
I think you can do that after the motion.
Okay.
Where it says any discussion, that would be a good time to do it.
Sure.
Is there anyone that would like to approve the adoption of the FY20 budget as presented?
I move to approve the adoption of the FY20 budget as presented.
Thank you, Mrs. Holzhauser. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Wisdom. Any discussion at this time?
Yeah, I just wanted to explain my vote. I'm going to be voting no for the budget. And the reason why is because I'm objecting to transferring expenses from the education fund to the tort fund in the amount of $700 and some thousand. And the reason is twofold. One, I think that shifting costs to another fund is just a way of allowing the district to spend more while showing less of a deficit. And I think it's a little bit better to feel the pain. And secondly, when we approved the increase in the rate of the tort fund a few years ago, I agreed to it with the understanding that if we did not have tax caps passed by the legislature, that we would reverse that and we would, we could lower that. And so in my mind, that, that's money that we didn't, that we shouldn't have had, that was, that should now be refunded. So I'm going to vote no on that part of it. I support the other parts, but I do think that in the next year we need to really be mindful of our spending. Our deficit is significant this year, and given that the projection is for another 3% reduction in EAV, we're going to have decreasing revenues next year, and we're going to have increasing costs. So I think we need to be really mindful, and I think we need to feel the pain of that deficit and act accordingly.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Disharum. Ms. Henry, do you have anything to say?
No.
Mrs. Blue? Mr. Wagenbach?
Nothing.
Okay. Mrs. Holzhauser? Mr. Wisdom? All right, I appreciate what you had to say. I think we do need to also keep our eyes on the budget with the reduction in our EAV, which is something that we prepared for and that we have been conservative with. But I do agree that it's something we're going to have to keep our eyes open. We did not prepare, or we did prepare for hard times. We know that the EAV went down 3%. We get projections from our tax officials, and they tell us it's going to be another 3%. So there will be a few lean years, and the budget will be something we'll keep an eye on. It will be reflected in our budget. If it continues to be a deficit, it's something we're going to have to really look at as far as our other expenditures and costs. But with that said, may we please have a roll call vote?
Holzhauser. Aye. Wisdom.
Aye.
Humbles.
Aye.
Wagenbach.
Aye.
Bluth. Aye. Disharum.
No.
Henry.
Aye.
Motion carried. Information regarding the renewal of the district office lease is included in the board packet. Are there any questions? Could I have a motion to approve the lease renewal agreement?
I'll move to approve the district office lease renewal agreement for a period of 1 year as presented from February 1, 2020 through January 31, 2021.
Very good. Is there a second?
Second.
Was that Mrs. Bluth? Okay, thank you. Any discussion?
I just have one comment.
Yes, ma'am.
And I think everyone did hear this, but Mike and I will be on a committee to look at where we can locate a district office, so we will not be having the same discussion next year about reviewing a lease.
I greatly appreciate that. And out of principle, I'm going to have to vote no, but I know we have to have a lease. But last year I made a promise that I would never again vote to lease a district office. And that's why we have the wheels in motion, and I appreciate our 2 board members who are going to work diligently. I know it will be done well, and appreciate that.
I want to make a comment too.
Yes, sir.
I think one thing that Teresa and I have committed to is that we already have an expenditure every year for rent. In finding a new home that's more convenient and more accessible, our goal will be to do that in such a way that it will be revenue neutral.
Revenue neutral.
Yeah.
I like to hear that. Thank you so much. All right. Any more discussion? Roll call vote.
Wisdom.
Aye.
Blue.
Aye.
Wagenbach.
Aye.
Disharu.
Aye.
Henry.
Aye.
Holzhauser.
Aye.
Humboldt.
No. Motion carried. Information regarding additional revisions to the board policy 4.30 are included in the board packet. Are there any questions or discussions?
Yeah, while we're fixing it, if you look under number 1, the safety of the principal, we're trying to keep our principals safe, but just put the spelling in there right if we can.
Oh, principal, could we spell that as P-L-E rather than P-A-L? Thank you. It's okay. Anything else?
I'm a nitpicker.
That's okay. We'll do this later. Anything else?
Are we going through each policy?
No, we're just discussing 4.30 at this moment.
I thought we're on 240.
I'm sorry, wait a minute, where am I looking?
2.240?
Oh, it's a typo, sorry. The conversation part says 4.30, so 2.240 at this time. Do you have any for that? Any corrections?
So the new proposed is just taking out the committee since we're not having a committee.
That is correct.
Okay.
Any other discussions? All right, could I have a motion to approve that policy?
I move to approve the revisions to board policy 430 as,
Well,
I'm sorry,
you're going to have to say 2.240.
2.240 as presented.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I think Mrs. Henry or Mr. Wilson. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Disharu. Aye. Henry.
Aye.
Wisdom.
Aye.
Bluth. Aye. Holzhauser. Aye. Humboldt.
Aye.
Wagenbach.
Aye.
Motion carried. All right, now we're looking at the approval of revisions, board policy 4.30. Information regarding revisions to the board policy are included in the packet. Are there any questions or discussion? This is 4.30 now.
I actually prefer the IASB recommended policy that's in here.
Okay.
As opposed to the,
The initial one that was on the...
there was an initial one, and then there's a proposed one. There's a new proposed, and then there's the IASB recommended. I believe the IASB recommended is, I think the wording is more clear. The question I had, though, is that in our last board packet, the IASB recommended policy was different. This one I think is good, but I didn't know where it came from.
Has it been updated maybe since? No. Well, could you read the one that you feel that is the best policy that you recommend?
The best is the one that's IASB recommended policy, and it says this, the difference is, it says the superintendent shall make a recommendation to the board to either appoint a chief investment officer or serve as one.
Okay, all right. You comfortable with that too? Very good. May I have a motion to approve?
Wait a second, I'm sorry, can you read that one more time?
It's a verbal, it's not substantive.
Here,
I think it's
right here.
Okay. It's just a grammar.
Is there a grammar problem with this one?
No, I think either one's fine. No, it's fine.
I was just saying that the IASB was not your recommendation, was all.
Well,
That
because
was the IASB policy.
But this is the one, I hadn't seen this one before, because the one we had the
No,
last
that's our
month
policy
was-
and our policy manual. It's a current the
But it wasn't in the
IASB
packet.
recommended policy, yeah.
So it was not in the packet?
It was different in the packet last month.
But you like this one? You
I
think
like
this
this.
one is
Yeah.
better stated? All right then. May I have a motion to approve Board Policy 4.30 as presented?
I move to approve the revisions to Board Policy 4.30 as presented by the IASB recommended policy.
Thank you, Ms. Blue. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Wagbaugh? Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Blue?
Aye.
Wagenbach?
Aye.
Disharum? Aye. Henry?
Aye.
Olshauser? Aye. Humboldt?
Aye.
Wisdom?
Very good, motion carried. This concludes the action item portion of the meeting. Could I please have a motion to adjourn to closed session?
I move to adjourn to closed session for the following purposes as stated in the Open Meetings Act. A, the appointment, employment, and compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees. B, student disciplinary cases. C, discussion of minutes of meetings lawfully closed. D, collective negotiating matters. E, security procedures after purchase or lease of real property. And G, litigation.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Wisdom, any discussion? Roll call vote.
Blue?
Aye.
Wisdom?
Aye.
Disharum?
Aye.
Henry?
Aye.
Olshauser? Aye. Humboldt?
Aye.
Wagenbach?
Aye.
Motion carried. Could I have a motion to approve the human resource consent agenda?
I move to approve the human resource consent
Thank
agenda as
you.
presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Roll call vote.
Disharum?
Aye.
Henry?
Aye.
Olshauser? Humboldt?
Aye.
Wagenbach?
Aye.
Wisdom?
Aye.
Blue?
Aye.
Could I have a motion to approve the closed session minutes?
I move to approve the closed session minutes of the regular board meeting of August 21st, 2019, and the committee of the whole meeting of September 4th, 2019 is presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Roll call vote.
Olshauser? Aye. Wagenbach?
Yeah, aye.
Humboldt?
Aye.
Wisdom? Blue?
Aye.
Disharum?
Aye.
Henry?
Very good. Motion
Roll call
carried.
for wasn't
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, nay. Hey, Gary.
Huh?